welcome back to Comfort Cooking with Ariana. This is Ariana. Today is the first in a series of what I call unleftover leftovers. And the reason I came up with this concept is because as a family, we don't do leftovers a lot. I would pack it up, put it in the refrigerator, and say, okay, we're going to have it for leftovers tomorrow or leftovers the day after. But my issue with food is if it's been in the refrigerator for 2 days, we're not eating it. I have a problem with that. Maybe it's the years in restaurant service that
Do you know where my coffee is? Right here. Okay.
Yeah, my baby drinks coffee. Maybe it's all those years in the restaurant service business, and just I am meticulous. If it's prepared or raw, even bacon, you know, I give bacon about a week and then I toss it, and that's it. We don't buy lunch meat for that very reason, because you open it and then 2 days later I'm ready to just throw it out. So as a family, we just don't eat a lot of leftovers. So what I decided to do was I was going to start vacuum sealing it. I would put it in the freezer, obviously date it from the original date. You pull it out and then you recreate. And I was inspired in part by Chopped. You know, you do what you gotta do. I've been watching cooking shows since since I can't remember. Anyway, today we are having, what we're going to have is chicken and dumplings on leftovers. I made some chicken and gravy not too long ago. It was a chicken gravy, very light, and I put it over egg noodles. Well, today I'm going to transform that into a creamy dumpling base, and we're going to have chicken and dumplings. So what I first need to do is taste where my salt content is. Obviously I added a lot of water because we have to be able to cook the dumplings. Oh my God. It's still delicious. When we add our cream, we'll know again before it really starts to thicken and turn into that delicious soup. The cream is going to take down on the saltiness. I might add some Gruyere cheese to that. Can't go wrong. Anyway, I'm going to add to that, I am going to change the flavor. Just a hair. I'm going to add 2 bay leaves. I already have one in there. And while that simmers and does the thing that bay leaves do, we're just going to allow that to happen. I'm going to add some thyme, and I'm going to keep it out because I'm going to use that to kind of flavor my drop biscuits. Which, how do you like your dumplings? Do you like the drop biscuits better? Do you like Pillsbury biscuits in yours, or do you like yours like City Slickers and they're just delicious and flat, more like a noodle? My husband didn't know that there were other ones out there. There were multiple ways to make dumplings. Dumplings are in every society, civilization, whatever you want to call it. So what I have decided to do is I'm going to add some more chicken flavor to it, and I'm going to make a fairly decent sized amount of dumplings. So I'm going to add more of my spices. I'm going to add about 2 cups of water. And some onion powder, some salt powder, maybe some basil. If you have fresh basil, definitely. Probably, I don't know. This is an leftover. You have to flavor it and modify based on what the original profile was. You can change it to some extent, but it still has to not clash with what it was originally made as. In the microwave, I have my cream defrosting. Another reason why I'm making it thin is because we're going to add the cream. We're going to add the dumplings, which are going to give off a certain level of gravy themselves. So, you know, it's going to be thin on the onset, but it will thicken. Okay? Alright. Let's start on these dumplings. I'm not going to add any butter yet. At all. I don't want that butter to, you know, be there every time I taste it. I know it's going to add a creaminess. I know it's going to add a richness to it. I just don't want all that butter right now because I have to taste as I go. We're going to start off with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Somebody did take the, that person would be me. There's 2 cups. I have no idea where all this flour just all of a sudden went to in the stores. Like, it's gone. It's gone. And I'm like, people, what are you doing with the flour? You know, I guess my original thought process was that people would just realize that this is not apocalyptic. It can be devastating, but, you know, people are throwing out words like depression, and I can understand where they're going with that. You know, depression era, you want your stockpile. You want to be able to feed yours, and we have the benefit of hindsight of looking at what some of these families had to do just to survive. So I get it. But I just don't get it. You know, I have 4 tablespoons of butter that I'm going to melt. Just do a minute. That's actually 10 minutes because I was defrosting the milk. So 2 cups of flour. We're going to add a tablespoon and a half of a teaspoon of baking powder. Ooh. Now remember, I said that we were going to mimic some of the flavors that we're putting into the dumpling soup. So I'm gonna add a half a teaspoon of thyme. And I'm going to add, instead of parsley, I'm going to add a teaspoon of oregano. So they look pretty, because oregano's the green and the parsley's green. And they also taste flavorful, adding, complementing what was already there. We're going to use a, no, where's my salt? My baking salt! Damn it, Max! Where's the baking salt? There it is. There we go. One teaspoon. I went a little less than a teaspoon, because there's salt in every component. We got a 4th cup of butter here. It could have been messy in my microwave. We need 3/4 of a cup of cream. So I'm going to stick this back in the microwave. I'm going to defrost it. We're back.
See?
Okay. We're back. We're going to add about 3/4 of a cup of, I'm going to use heavy whipping cream. Use whatever you want. I chose heavy whipping cream only because I have to use it in the dumpling. So all I'm doing is I'm combining that. I'm not even ready to drop my biscuits in there. This is nowhere close to being boiling, only because I have it on a slow simmer while I continue to tweak how I want the flavor combinations to go. But I do like, when I get ready to drop it, I like working with a semi-dryer dough. Okay? So I'm just going to set that aside. I'm going to, cover it so it doesn't completely dry out. I'm going to put that aside. So again, this is my leftover. My husband and I really miss heat. My kids don't necessarily like heat, but what child does. So when we have an opportunity to add a pepper in there or something, we do. So it's my leftover. My husband and I love heat. So I'm just going to mince up a jalapeno, maybe half, I don't know yet. We don't get the heat very often anymore, so sometimes it's like half a jalapeno is plenty, sometimes it's not enough. My kids have definitely given us a blander diet. My kids are some of the pickiest kids around, if you ask me. I remember a time when they used to eat rice 1 grain at a time. But that's my children. Those are my kids, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. So here's about a half a jalapeno. That might be plenty. We'll see. Stir that around. I added some oregano. I added some bay leaf. I've already given you that. Now I'm just gonna add. I have like 2 florets that I froze. I have learned the secret to preserving and canning frozen. So I'll buy it fresh when it's on sale, and it ends up being cheaper in the end. Oh, I put that aside for a stock. I'm not going to use it right now. So I just put in the last floret of broccoli that I had. I had some spinach in my refrigerator. I know I'm going to have to use soon, so I'm just going to take like, handful of spinach. Whatever you want. This is revisioning what you already visioned, and all the flavors still work. I'm not going to tell you put a rutabaga in it. Yeah, very few things actually get me going like that, but just plain rutabaga like that, no thank you. I can't do it. So I'm going to just let that simmer. You know what? Let's live on the edge. Let's put the other half of jalapeno in there. I'm going to let it simmer because I want the new flavors to develop. Not that it's not done, but I just want it to simmer for about 15 minutes or so these new flavors can develop slower rather than just in this rapid boil and it's just on the surface. I want it to hit you on multiple different levels. Like, this might have taken me hours to do. It's deep in flavor and composition, I should say. Hearty. So now that I have all the flavors that I want there, I'm gonna add about 3 tablespoons of butter. I think fresh scallions would be good with that too. Get it. I'm gonna bring that to a boil because I need it to boil for the dumplings. These are so simple. It's a comfort food we all know and love. And now that your dumplings are ready, I'm just gonna make You know, maybe about, I don't know, maybe a gobstopper size dumpling. I don't like them too big. I don't like them too small. If you come across the dry spot, oh yeah, by the way, wash your hands again. When you're dealing organically with your food, wash your hands. Make sure your counter's clean.
Let me go back to 1. Okay.
Hey, stop jumping on this bed. I told you you cannot jump on this bed. It's already got holes in it. I don't know how.
Anyway, my kids they're going crazy. How are your kids doing? You know, this is the worst part about that is they're young. How do you maintain that energy? My condo is not that big. It's 2-bedroom. It's mom and dad's room, the kids' room, their bathroom, our bathroom, which is attached to the master bedroom, our living room, dining room. There's not a lot of space for them to use up that energy, and our governor, rightfully so, has closed down the parks, the city. We've been on lockdown for a while, but the children, you know, there's only so many games that a 4-year-old, 5-year-old can play. My 4, he's 5. Boo-hoo. Okay, when it starts to come to a boil, just drop your dumplings in. They will cook. You don't want to stick them all in at the same time, but you want them in there, okay? And then you just keep adding as you go. And then when you have as many dumplings as you want in there or as you can fit, then you stop. You don't have to use the whole 2 cups of flour. You know, it's what you guys will eat, how many dumplings you like. I just totally sniffed. The whole point is having them done. You know, it's a matzo ball soup. There you go. And it doesn't take long. I'm gonna drop the heat down. Alright. I realized I hadn't showed you what's being created here. There's our spinach, the broccoli. There's some of our dumplings. I literally just turned it off, and they're getting so big and delicious. That's another reason why you don't want to put so many in there on the onset, because if you put it on there in the onset, you don't know how big they're going to get, and they will, and they'll start to float, and they'll tell you that they're done. Once that starts happening, you can drop your heat down to about a medium. We still have this much left, so it's relatively easy. I'll be back. So delicious. If you could smell. No. Don't touch that camera. Alright, so what I did was, and I totally forgot I was making this video. I added I added about 11 ounces of heavy whipping cream, the remainder of what I had in my container, and I just added it to the broth. And now I'm gonna just let it sit and develop. I'm gonna make sure I need nothing else. I'm gonna add some pepper. You okay? My cat fell. Now don't forget I have jalapeno in there. I don't know how you're gonna be yours. I was just giving you an idea how to change one food into a totally different meal. We're gonna recap it and let it just slowly simmer down. Okay, I'll be back. Alright, so I've showed you what it looks like. I was able to convince the camera guy, Eric, to come and have a taste. So this is chicken and dumplings made with some chicken that I had left over I went from a frozen block of chicken that I had made a chicken gravy with and put over egg noodles to chicken and dumplings. And he's nodding his head. I'm guessing he's like
it's good, yeah. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah, because I talk too much. So, again, this is a way to use those leftovers up that you don't want the same way that you had them the first time. Try making the drop biscuits yourself. It tastes better than the Pillsbury dough. It really does. And, you know, I added spinach to mine. You don't have to add spinach. You add whatever veggies you have in your disposal. I try to figure out what's freezable, what's not freezable, and what I can, you know, use from that standpoint. And I made the joke with Eric a couple days ago because our supermarket is looking pretty bare again. Like I said, these apocalyptic shoppers are out there creating this depressed food shortage right now where the grocery stores can't keep up. They're creating the depression in part because of the hoard. But I digress. Use what you have. But I have been trying everything from freezing eggs, which you have to kind of poke a hole in them, I've learned, because as the yolk expands, or the egg itself expands, it'll crack the shell. But next thing I know, there are no eggs on the shelves. I'm like, I need an egg to bake bread. Well, there it was. I freeze cheeses that I'm not going to necessarily use, like Fontina, that I'm not going to use on a normal basis. They preserve. I definitely preserve like my ginger and things of that nature, those root vegetables that I use to add flavor and seasoning. So again, whatever you have in your refrigerator, your freezer, using your chicken and dumplings, okay? But you know this part. If you like the video, click the like. If you want to subscribe and see more, click the subscribe button, hit the notifications button. I'm going to upload what I can. Again, we're changing this platform a little bit. We're just visioning things, and I'm visioning a long-term goal. Nothing, you know, I don't claim to be Bobby Flay. I don't claim to be, you know, Giada. I don't claim to be any of these people. I am a person who just likes to cook. My family seems to enjoy it. People that I tend to cook for seems to enjoy it. So that's what I do. So until next time, happy eating.